What is going on, guys? You got MattyBrollic here, and I am back for the first time in a while to bring you all a series that I am very, very excited to show and display here. As you can see, this series will be centered around the Battle of Alola competition that happened on the Pokemon Global Link. This image was taken right off of their website. Now, before I even get into the video or explain anything, I just want to give a shout out to my boy Carney Hobo for recording the battles that will be shown in this episode. I had a bunch of friends help me record these battles just because I do not have a capture card. So I wanted to shout them out before every single video and make sure that I leave their links in the description. Go check out Carney. His link will be down below. He is an absolutely awesome dude, just oozing charisma, and you will not be disappointed if you check out his channel. So anyway, getting back into the topic of the video, the Battle of Alola competition was something I really was excited for, because just upon playing Pokemon Sun, I had Sun version, I loved it so much. Like, it may have possibly been my favorite playthrough of all time, and I am a 21 years old male that has been playing since I was, I should say, 5. So the fact that this game was able to bring out the little kid in me, again, more so than maybe any other game before, other than maybe Pokemon Crystal, is really special to me. I really enjoyed the playthrough and could not have been happier with how the game turned out. So I was really excited when this competition was announced, because the rule set was definitely an interesting rule set. So basically, it was a 3v3 Battle Spot singles tournament that allowed the usage of one special Pokemon on your team, those special Pokemon being Solgaleo, Lunala, or Magearna. So you can only use one of the three. You don't have to use one, but you did have the option. And I thought that was pretty cool, because I've always been a big fan of legendaries. Ubers is one of my favorite tiers, even though it's not an easy one to play. I just really like using legendaries. So I thought it was definitely pretty cool to be able to use what's kind of like an in-game team. You know, like when I catch my Uber legendary in the game, you know, during most of these playthroughs, especially as a kid, I always used it and made it the centerpiece of my team. And Solgaleo was no different. I really loved my Solgaleo through my, towards the end of my playthrough of Sun. I think it's an awesome Pokemon with a great design, really cool concept, and because of the way these rules worked, I was allowed to use it. So I was like, you know what, I have to make sure this is the centerpiece of my team. Solgaleo and Lunala both don't look like they're going to be that great in the Ubers tier on Smogon, so I figured this is probably the best chance you're going to have to use them. So that's another reason I was excited for this tournament. And another interesting rule was that no items were allowed for this tournament. So it really made this a nice mixture of like casual and competitive Pokemon, because obviously people are going to be trying to win these battles, and they're going to, use competitive sets as long as they know them. But the thing is, without items, it's kind of reminiscent of in-game when, some people may put items on their Pokemon, but for me, unless it's a really good item, or, unless I remember, because a lot of times I just forget to put items on my Pokemon in-game, that I don't really use them typically. So that's one of the things I thought was fun about this, because no items just kind of puts everything on the Pokemon alone and kind of resembles playing Pokemon in its purest form. So almost like it's casual plus the competitive aspect of this competition. So I was really excited to play, and it turns out that I actually did, in my opinion, incredibly well. So I wanted to showcase my run, because I just had such a good time and felt that a lot of my battle replays that I saved were worth watching. So I hope you guys enjoyed this series the way I enjoyed playing through this competition, because I really had an absolute blast. And without further ado, I will actually get into my team just to describe to you guys a little bit what I brought and why. Alright, here we are back with the team. Now, I have some nicknames over here. They're pretty silly, so don't mind those if you don't like them. But here we have my Crash Nebula. This is my Solgaleo that so basically the reason I have this team on Showdown is because they had a Battle of Alola ladder for a little while, so I wanted to practice and make sure that I had a team that I felt could handle a lot of the metagames. So I tried to replicate whatever I could come up with on here as well as I could in my game. So my Crash Nebula is a Solgaleo that what was I gonna say? There's a Solgaleo that is a brave nature and is a fairly bulky set, but max attack. Really to take advantage of that gigantic attack set that it has, especially compared to just regular Pokemon. Because all Alolan Dex Pokemon were legal in this tournament, so 137 base attack is quite a bit compared to most of those Pokemon. So here, I actually caught a brave one in game because Trick Room is my favorite style, and I figured I could potentially try to use a Trick Room Solgaleo at some point. I didn't know if it would be any good in Ubers or anything, but it turns out that for this type of competition, it actually works out quite well. Now, Trick Room is obviously a tricky, play on words. It's kind of a difficult play style to use, but it's one that I've gotten so used to, and it's one that I'm very, very fond of. And I said to myself, a lot of my favorite Pokemon this gen are really slow and do kind of struggle outside of Trick Room, so I'm going to try to make an effective Trick Room team here and see what happens. And it turns out I was able to peak the ladder for the Battle of Alola competition, on Showdown rather. I was able to peak the ladder with this team, so I was like, you know what, I think this team should have a pretty good matchup against whatever I really have to face in this competition. So here is my Solgaleo. It is, like I said, brave nature, but the EV spread, the HP and the special defense are designed to live a Moongeist beam from a Modest Lunala at 100% of the time. So even with a max roll, it could not knock me out, and I could do something like set up a Trick Room, which is pretty cool. And this coverage here is pretty close to perfect. One of the few things that I can't really hit too well with this coverage is Gyarados. Gyarados is definitely an annoyance to this set, but pretty much everything else gets hit pretty hard with these coverage moves. Now, this thing was very, very useful because it's got the same typing as things like Jirachi and Metagross, but it's considerably bulkier than both of them, and not much more powerful than Metagross, but its move pool is a little more potent and it's much more powerful than Jirachi. So this thing is, and was definitely a monster, and I was really glad that I was able to use it. So then next, I decided to pair it up with one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, and definitely, probably, I would say my number one favorite of Generation 7, my MattyBrollic, my Incineroar. Shoutouts to Dallas Boy 1992 for the nickname. This Pokemon is, it's perfect. It is my two favorite types, being Fire and Dark, and it is a pro wrestler based Pokemon, which my two favorite things are basically Pokemon and pro wrestling. So the fact that they combined both of those for this thing just makes me so happy, and it's both of my favorite types as well. Really, really awesome. Now, unfortunately, Incineroar does not have its hidden ability yet, which is Intimidate, but I still learned that under the Trick Room it's very, very potent in this type of style because it has more than enough bulk to be able to set up Swords Dances or take hits from a lot of offensive threats and either 1 or 2 hit KO things back with its amazing coverage. Fire Dark is really, really good offensively, and then coupled with Earthquake, it's perfect coverage. So very scary, and with a Swords Dance up, this Pokemon just could run through teams. So this is also a brave nature with Flare Blitz, Darkest Lariat, Earthquake, and Swords Dance. So with a couple turns of Trick Room up, this thing gets to +2. It's basically getting as many kills as there are Trick Room turns left. And its defensive typing is actually pretty nice in some matchups. So also, without Stealth Rocks being common at all in this type of format, Incineroar also takes advantage of that fact because it is a bulky Pokemon. And even without Intimidate, it is able to take a lot of hits, especially without hazards being common. So next we have my Vikavolt switch. I don't know why I named it that. I just couldn't think of anything else. My Vikavolt, I love this Pokemon. It's very cool. I used it in my playthrough. And with this set, it basically threatens most of the metagame. And it's just a very, very powerful Pokemon. With max HP, it's actually pretty bulky. Its defensive typing isn't bad at all. And the fact that it has that nice Levitate ability made it really useful against a lot of common things like Garchomp. Garchomp was very common in this tournament. And it allowed me to switch into those because a lot of times Garchomp would be brought in on things like Solgaleo or Incineroar, so I'd be able to pivot out into my Volt Switch. My Volt Switch, oh my god, my Vikavolt. So pretty cool, and it's very powerful with its Thunderbolt and Bug Buzz stabs coming off of a base 145 special attack. I had a modest nature here, especially because it's already so slow. I felt like I didn't need to go any slower, and yeah, this thing is very powerful. I just put Roost on there because with max HP and the fact that a lot of or no Pokemon could hold items in this tournament, it can avoid a lot of 2-hit KOs, which can make Roost actually pretty useful. And there was one match in particular where Roost really came in handy. But other than that, it was just kind of a filler move. The only other move I felt like I could put here was something like Volt Switch, Charge Beam, or Energy Ball. But normally Vikavolt was just 1 or 2 hit KOing everything with Thunderbolt and Bug Buzz, and then occasionally HP Ice because things like Zygarde and Garchomp were pretty big threats to my team. So then next we have my Tapu Brawlic, my Tapu Bulu. A lot of people have been memeing like my face onto this thing, so I definitely wanted to name it after me. Now, Tapu Bulu is a really cool Pokemon, and one of the reasons I really wanted to use it is because, number one, it helps mitigate. Oh my gosh, what is wrong with me today? I guess I'm just tired. It helps mitigate the ground weakness of my team because, number one, it resists ground type moves, and number two, it weakens Earthquake. So under the grassy terrain, Earthquake barely does a lot of damage to my ground weak Pokemon. So that's very nice. And one of the main reasons I wanted this thing on the team is because Zygarde Perfect was actually allowed in this tournament, which it wasn't even considered one of the special Pokemon. So Zygarde Perfect was just completely legal and incredibly scary and threatening. So Tapu Bulu could switch into that thing fairly easily and set up a substitute on it or just set up SDs on it. And no matter how bulky that Zygarde is, a +2 Wood Hammer is pretty much going to kill a Zygarde. So that was very nice. And this also helped a little bit with Garchomp, not that much. It just helped more of getting the grassy terrain up because a lot of the Garchomps carried Poison Jab. But one of the biggest things I used, or one of the main reasons I used this, was because I actually came across a couple stockpile Toxapexes in the on the ladder on Showdown, and I just couldn't touch them after a couple boosts. So I decided this would be perfect for that because even if it does have a poison move, it's just so weak that I could live. And if it doesn't have a poison move, it's just like, you know, stockpile, Baneful Bunker, recover, and a water move or something along those lines, or like Toxic. Then Tapu Bulu could set up a sub and just wall the Toxapex to no end, because if I get to +6, it's getting 2 KO'd anyway. So Tapu Bulu was cool in the sense that it's almost like it's holding an item. That's how powerful it is with the Grassy Surge. So you really, and also it gets, you know, kind of like the leftovers recovery under the grassy terrain. So it was like a Pokemon that was holding an item, which was pretty cool, despite being itemless. So Tapu Bulu was definitely nice here. Stone Edge just hit a lot of the things that Wood Hammer doesn't hit very hard, like Celesteela, things like Salamence, Dragonite. So definitely pretty cool there. But overall, Tapu Bulu was kind of a filler Pokemon that just kind of helped me check certain weaknesses of the team. Then next we have my Nostalgia, my P2. Porygon 2 has been one of my favorite Pokemon for a long time. I've loved it ever since I used it in my first playthrough through Pokemon Gold. With this set, it's an offensive Trick Room set. Now you may be thinking, wait, that Porygon 2 doesn't have an item, and I was thinking the same thing. But surprisingly enough, Porygon 2 was actually very, very, very useful in this tournament, because even without the Eviolite, it is still bulky enough to get up a Trick Room a lot of the time, and with download and max special attack, this thing could be an absolute nightmare to a lot of teams. The normal ghost coverage was so good in this metagame, and it was so useful for checking Lunala, because a lot of Lunalas just came in on my Pokemon and just clicked Moongeist Beam seemingly pretty safely, but I had Porygon 2 in the back to come in and set up Trick Rooms, which is really, really nice. Now, I just went with Recover on there because there are some Pokemon that struggle to 2-hit KO Porygon 2 even without the Eviolite, so Recover is pretty nice. It also helps me to stall out some Trick Room turns if I need to either get rid of Trick Room because my opponent may have slower Pokemon, or if I needed to get a fresh Trick Room before I went down for something else to come in and sweep. So Recover was definitely very useful here. And like I said, this coverage, just being normal and a Ghost, was incredibly nice on P2 in this meta. So my final Pokemon here was my Sandbox, my Gigalith. Now, this thing was actually pretty nice as well because Sand was awesome for Lunala because Shadow Shield makes Lunala really, really tough to break in this format. I didn't even know that because Sunsteel Strike is basically a Mold Breaker move, but apparently it does not go through Shadow Shield. So that's what sets Shadow Shield apart from things like Multiscale, is that Mold Breaker things do not even go through it. So because of that, because normally Solgaleo would be able to 2-hit KO Lunala, which is pretty cool because, you know, being that Solgaleo is supposed to lose to Lunala, it'd be pretty cool that 2 Sunsteel Strikes would be able to knock out offensive sets, but because of the Shadow Shield, that is not the case. So Gigalith is really nice in that regard because the Sand will keep Lunala under its max HP because it can't hold leftovers or anything like that. So that is definitely nice. I had Stealth Rocks also to kind of do the same thing, but there weren't many moves that I needed on my Gigalith here. So if I can get up rocks on a team that had things like Lunala, Gyarados, Talonflame was actually more common than I expected, Dragonite, Salamence, would definitely be nice to get some damage on those things and put them in KO range from a lot of other moves on my team. So Gigalith was definitely nice in that regard. It has a pretty sky-high base 135 attack, coupled with a powerful rock move in Stone Edge. Was nice having the Edge Quake coverage, and then Heavy Slam is pretty nice in this metagame as well. I could have went with Iron Head, but I just went with Heavy Slam because a lot of the fairies that I would need to hit are very light, and other things like rock types I have Earthquake for, so that's why I figured Heavy Slam was a little bit better here. So I just went with a max HP, max attack set with 1 special defense EV because the special defense is being boosted by 1 stage under the Sand. So that makes Gigalith incredibly hard to 1-hit KO, and actually made it a pretty nice switch into a lot of Pokemon. So overall, I felt this team just had all the tools to beat no matter what was in front of it. And yeah, today we will actually be showcasing Tapu Brawlic, my Tapu Bulu here. Carney Hobo is a huge grass type fan, so I had him record the battles of Tapu Bulu. So I will get right into those replays very shortly. Okay, so here we are with the replays. Now, you cannot see my full team or my opponent's full team. You just see what we brought. So that kind of stinks just because seeing the full teams kind of explains why I brought the things that I chose to bring. So no big deal there. But anyway, it's 3-on-3, no items. And yeah, we will get right into this first game. So I just have a little bit of music on there in the background. Not sure if you guys are going to like that or not. If you like the in-game music, then let me know because I'll keep it like this and I can adjust the volume accordingly to what you guys think. But if not, I could just silence it and put my own music over it. So here we will begin the battle leading off with Solgaleo. So she decides to lead with her Crocodile, which is not too big of a deal because I know I could live either a ground move or a dark move, even though they're super effective, and I can't get intimidated because of the full metal body. So I am just going to go right for the Trick Room turn 1, or rather, I have my Tapu Bulu in the back. So I switch right into that because Solgaleo could be useful for a lot of situations later, as Crocodile does not get Poison Jab or anything like that, so I'm not very afraid of this thing. And this Earthquake is going to do absolutely pitiful damage. If you went for Crunch, it would have done a little bit more because it's not being weakened by the grassy terrain, but still would not have done much, especially because I do get that little bit of recovery, which is nice. So now I'm almost at full, which is cool. As he just decides to switch out, he probably cannot touch me. As he goes into Sand Slash, which I just went right for Woodhammer here instead of something like Substitute because I figured he may have the Sand Slash, and in that case, I do want to dent it a bit. And one thing that's cool about the grassy terrain that I did mention in my team builder is that it weakens the Earthquake to help mitigate the ground weakness of my team. So now this thing packs the Iron Head, and I don't want to keep Tapu Bulu in here. But with the Earthquake being weakened, Solgaleo really walls this thing. And I have both Earthquake and Flare Blitz that could destroy this Sand Slash. Or Earthquake not in the grassy terrain, but the Flare Blitz can easily damage this Sand Slash. So here I am not sure if I would go for Flare Blitz or if I just go right for the Trick Room. I would imagine probably just right for the Trick Room, but I am not 100% sure. We'll see. We'll see right here. As he goes for the Earthquake, maybe not knowing that it doesn't do much to me, or maybe just thinking, you know, this is my only way to get good way to get damage on it. I really don't know. He probably just didn't know, though, because I feel like he should have gone into Crocodile if he knew that Earthquake wouldn't do that much, because then he's just going to lose his Sand Slash for not much of a good reason. So here, I get the Trick Room up, and now I'm just going to click Flare Blitz. I don't really lose much by it, because... And it turns out he's actually still slower than me, which I wasn't expecting. But I could just go for the Flare Blitz pretty safely here, because Crocodile will get 2-hit KO'd by a Flare Blitz and a Sunsteel Strike, unless it's running a ton of physical defense. So here I knock out the Sand Slash. That is 4 times super effective, the Flare Blitz. And now I believe he's going to go back into his Crocodile, which is fine because the Grassy Terrain just disappeared there, but I still have 3 more turns of Trick Room. So if I switch into Tapu Bulu here, I get 2 more turns of Trick Room with the Grassy Terrain up, which means I could pretty much just click Woodhammer and watch things drop. So I'm going to switch out and go right into Tapu Bulu. I figured he may want to double there or something like that, but he just stays in, maybe knowing that his last can't really take on Tapu Bulu either, as here he just goes right for the Crunch, but still does not do too much damage just because I do resist it, which is cool, and I get a little bit of recovery afterwards, as now it doesn't matter what type of Crocodile this is, it cannot live an Adamant Woodhammer, as that just cleanly knocks this thing out, which is pretty nice, as now I take a good amount of recoil from that for sure. So that probably had max defense. So here he goes into his Greninja, which is very easy pickings for my Tapu Bulu. There's no way this thing could ever live a hit for me, and even if it has something like Water Shuriken, that's obviously not going to knock me out, as we just pick up the victory with Tapu Bulu getting 2 monster kills and then also getting a nice chunk off on that Sand Slash. Now, Sand Slash has a lot of physical defense, and that Woodhammer did like 40%, which was pretty cool. So now we will move on to the next battle. Okay, so now this time I came across a team carrying, I guess, these 3 Pokemon. I don't remember who else, but I decided to bring my Gigalith, Solgaleo, and Tapu Bulu. It looks like Gigalith doesn't really match up too well here, but Tapu Bulu matches up exceptionally well here. And if you could see the 146 timestamp over here, you could, make an inference on how this game is going to go down, being that Tapu Bulu matches up so well against my opponent's team here. So here we get into the game. I believe I lead with my Tapu Bulu just because it matches up so nicely, as he leads with his Primarina. And even if this Primarina is faster than me, the best thing it could do to me is Ice Beam. And even if it does Ice Beam me, it can't be holding a Choice Specs or anything like that. And I am max HP, so I could take the hit. I would go down to Woodhammer, but it turns out he is slower than me, so I just get a Woodhammer right off directly, as the Primarina does in fact go down, and we don't take too much recoil there. We are probably at around like 75% right now, which is pretty nice. And now he goes right into Snorlax, and I don't know what set of Snorlax this is, but as you're gonna see, this Woodhammer takes it clean out. I think I get a crit here. Yep. And I calced, and if the Snorlax isn't running any physical defense investment, then that would have knocked it out, but maybe he did have some physical defense investment. I honestly do not know. But regardless, that's still crazy power that Tapu Bulu is one-hit KOing a Snorlax. So now it goes into Hariyama, which has pretty similar physical bulk to Snorlax. But this thing also just goes right down, that time without a crit. So Tapu Bulu literally just coming in and getting 3 kills and actually surviving the recoil and everything like that on 1 HP too. 1 HP, what a god. So yeah, that is, this battle keeps freezing for whatever reason, but that is this battle. Now we will go to the final match. Okay, so here we are for the last battle, and this game was a little bit higher up on the ladder, but this was one of the more, I guess, annoying and crazy strategies that I ended up seeing. This time I brought my Tapu Bulu, Solgaleo, and my Porygon too, as he brought a Smeargle Celesteela, and Lunala. Celesteela and Lunala being very, very threatening, but then Smeargle just being a very annoying Pokemon. You always have to fear Spore when there's a Smeargle, which is one of the reasons I brought Tapu Bulu. But unfortunately, he's a much more obnoxious set than that, as you'll see as we get into this battle. So, yeah, we'll just have to wait for it because it starts off like this first. So, the Smeargle was something that I did run to on the ladder a little bit when I was just practicing for this tournament. But I ran into a couple different types of Smeargle just because you can run so many different variants of Smeargle. But the thing is, this is probably the better one just because Smeargle can't hold a focus sash in this tournament. So I leave with my Tapu Bulu, just for this Smeargle, as I don't know why it's doing that. Hold on. I don't know why it's doing that. That's really weird. He goes right for the sub, and that's what I was afraid of. He's probably max speed Smeargle, which speed ties with Tapu Bulu, but I'm not max speed. So I go right for the Wood Hammer, and I break the substitute. But now you're going to see he's going to reveal that really, really annoying and uncompetitive ability in Moody, which raises a stat by 2 stages and lowers the stat by 1 stage. So if he gets the right stat boosts, then he could be really, really annoying to face. As you can see, he gets his evasiveness risen right away, which is annoying. But thankfully, Tapu Bulu comes through and hits the Wood Hammer, as that's easily going to knock out the Smeargle, and his speed falling allowed me to outrun him that turn, which even though the evasiveness was a very annoying speed boost, or a very annoying stat boost, the speed drop was clutch in me being able to outspeed it and knock it out. So here he goes into his Lunala. And I'm just going to save Tapu Bulu for later. I probably could take a Moongeist Beam from there, but Wood Hammer isn't going to do too much through the Shadow Shield, and he's going to get a little bit of recovery anyway through the grassy terrain. As here he just goes right for the Moongeist Beam as I go into Porygon 2. Now I could set up a Trick Room as he goes right for the Moonblast there, revealing to me that he may not even have Psychic coverage on this set. Because he went for Moonblast over Psychic. But honestly, I'm not sure. Maybe he was just afraid that I had something like Incineroar in the back, which takes more from Moonblast than both Moongeist Beam and Psychic. So here, he switches out and goes into his Celesteela, which is definitely pretty annoying for my team to handle. Solgaleo does deal with it pretty well, but Lunala deals with Solgaleo pretty well, also just because I don't have Crunch on my set. So the grassy terrain goes away. Wouldn't really have mattered too much for Celesteela because that thing does not benefit from the grassy terrain at all, doesn't get the recovery. As here I go right into my Solgaleo, just because he goes right for the Acrobatics here, which is going to do very little damage. But that damage does reveal that he probably is an offensive Celesteela, because the Acrobatics did, I don't know, maybe like 15 to 20% to a really, really bulky Solgaleo that resists the move. So I just go right for the Flare Blitz here. I just need to get damage on the Celesteela. I can easily set up a Trick Room with Porygon 2 again, so I'm not worried about that. But I just go right for the Flare Blitz, as that does a huge chunk of damage. Now I go right into my Tapu Bulu here, knowing that he's probably going to go... But why did I go into Tapu Bulu here? I'm not even sure. But he goes for the Flamethrower anyway, which works out, even though he does get a crit. Because if he went for Acrobatics there, I could have been in trouble. Maybe I figured that I could live in Acrobatics from where I was. I don't even remember, honestly. But whatever it is, I go into Tapu Bulu. If he went for Earthquake, I easily would have been able to live it. But here I just knock him right out with the Wood Hammer, even though he 4 times resists that. And now he's going to go into his Lunala, which, although it is bulky, once it has its Shadow Shield broken, it is no match for the god that is Tapu Bulu, especially under the grassy terrain. As what's it called? Here, I just sack my my Solgaleo, because if he happens to be like a bulky Combine set, which could definitely be the case. If he's Combine Roost, then his coverage is most likely going to be Moongeist Beam and Moonblast. So because of that, I went out into Porygon 2 just so I can get up a Trick Room and make sure that when he goes to knock me out, that he has his Shadow Shield broken, which will allow Tapu Bulu to knock him out as he goes for the Moonblast here. As I just set up a Trick Room, and now I will just be able to Shadow Ball this thing, because if he wants to knock me out, then I could just go into Tapu Bulu and clean up the game with a Wood Hammer. So here I go for the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball's animation is so cool in Gen 7. It's definitely one of my favorite animations. As that Shadow Ball does a very, very good chunk. I didn't even get the special attack raise, and that already did around half, which means it would have done almost 100% had, if this thing didn't have Shadow Shield. And I know it is 4 times super effective, but Lunala has base 133 HP and 113 special defense. That's or 107 special defense. That's ridiculous. So that's crazy. As here the grassy terrain goes out, but I could just go for a Shadow Ball here. And for some, because he gets the special attack drop with the Moonblast, I forgot to address that. I just barely miss out in the KO there, so that allows Tapu Bulu to come in. Thankfully, I still have the Trick Room up, and I am able to knock him out with the Wood Hammer, which will seal the game, getting Tapu Bulu a nice 3 kills in this match, even with something like a Celesteela, which checks it pretty well. So that was definitely very nice, and Tapu Bulu just showing its worth in these 3 battles. So that is going to be it for all these battle replays. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. This was, like I said, the Tapu Bulu showcase. I will be doing a showcase for every single one of the Pokemon on my team. Overall, I have to say Tapu Bulu was the most disappointing Pokemon on my team, and I was surprised because the fact that these Pokemon cannot hold items, Tapu Bulu really has an advantage in that sense, because his ability acts like leftovers and even more powerful than a Choice Band on his grass moves. So in that case, I would have expected Tapu Bulu to be really, really good for this format. And it wasn't bad. Like, it did have some of those good matchups like you just saw, but there were a lot of other matchups where I just could not bring it, because there was like Celesteela, Dragons, just like a bunch of things that it could not hit too hard, and things that could lose me momentum, which I just really could not afford. Or I needed like certain Pokemon on my team to use Earthquake, and that kind of mixed, didn't mix well with my own team. Things like that didn't really allow Tapu Bulu to shine as much as I thought it would. I thought I would see more Zygardes, and I thought I would see more Toxapexes, which whenever I see those, I'd almost have to bring Tapu Bulu. But they just were not as common as I expected, which led to me not bringing Tapu Bulu as much as I thought. And even in some of the games I did bring it, it was a little disappointing as well, as sometimes it just missed out on KOs that I thought it should get, I thought it would get, or it just wouldn't live attacks that I thought it would live, because it is a pretty bulky Pokemon, but I guess not as bulky as I had expected. So overall, I thought that was going to be one of the stars of the show, but it was definitely one of probably the most disappointing Pokemon on my team. But that being said, it still had some very nice games like the ones I just showed you. So that's what was pretty cool about this tournament. 45 games was a good amount for me to be able to showcase every Pokemon on my team and show how they could each work. So like I said, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Definitely let me know what you thought in the comments. Give me some feedback on, for example, the music, like me playing the battle music in-game on here, or if I should just mute these videos and use different music over them. The only reason I like the music is because, number one, I really like the soundtrack of Sun and Moon, and number two, the battle sounds, like all the effects of the moves and everything. I like those being in the battle as well, and it's pretty difficult to get those in the video if I don't just record the music here. But if you really weren't feeling it, then just let me know, because I could change it up for next time, or even if just the volume, if you want me to make it louder or a little bit lower, let me know that too, because that'll just definitely help me make a better video next time. So most of all, thank you guys so much for watching, and have yourselves a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next one later.